All right, have you gotten on your motorcycle and gone, this thing doesn't shift as smooth as it's supposed to? And well, I have learned a bunch of tips over the years to be able to show you just how nice to make your bike shift smooth again. So we're gonna go over six tips of how to make it nice and smooth. We'll be using some different products on different things, and don't worry about taking notes. We'll have all the links into the description below, and so you can go check out those products. All right, let's jump into it. So what you need first is a nice smooth clutch system, and for what you need to do that is you need to lube your clutch cable. Now you're thinking, Sparky, I've lubed my clutch cable. Yeah. You haven't used this stuff. You probably never heard of it. It's called dry slide. Now, when I was back working at the dealership, this is all we'd use to lube cables on customers' bikes, because you know what? It didn't stick, and it didn't come back, and it lasted. So, link in the description for the stuff below. Forget the research. Stop looking. Buy this stuff. Yes, it's like 20 bucks or something like that, but this whole bottle will last you a very long time. Now, it works a little different. It comes with its own applicator. All you do is you put this tip right in the end of the cable, and you squeeze till it comes all the way out the bottom. Easy peasy, no problem. Tip number 2. Now you might be thinking we lube the clutch cable and that's all you need to do, nice and smooth and butter. Not so. If your bike's more than even just like a year or two old, you need to lube the clutch lever pivot with some grease. Now you got to take it apart and clean it out, and then put some grease in there. Only a little bit of grease, because you don't want it to get all clogged up with grease. If it then attracts dirt. Just need a little bit. I'll show you how. We're going to clean the top and the bottom and this bolt, and clean inside the hole as well. This one I've already cleaned up. It looks pretty good, except for the bolt. But you're going to want to use a light amount of this energy release grease. Now this is the G100. I'm going to link to the description below the G200. Both of them are real good grease. I've been using this stuff for years with amazing results. So forget the research, get that stuff. It's the stuff to have. It'll last you a long time. All right, pro tip. So when you're tightening down this nut and you have a lock nut on the bottom like this one does, don't tighten it down too much. You want this thing nice and floppy and smooth, so when it goes back and forth, check it without the cable. You want this thing like effortlessly smooth. You got that clutch lever and cable back together, buttoned up and adjusted, and you're now thinking, oh man, this thing feels great, nice and smooth like it used to be. Not so fast. Step number 3, you got to take a look at where the clutch cable goes down into the bike. So down here where the clutch cable goes down in, there is a clutch cam mechanism right here behind. Let's take it apart. This is a clutch cam pivot. What it does is it transfers the pulling of the cable into pushing this nice, greasy, dirty, never mind that. It pushes the rod that way. So you can take this apart and clean it and put lube in there. Now I did that a little bit ago. It's got some ball bearings in there, so be careful. Now each bike's going to look a little different. If your bike doesn't look like this, there's still going to be some sort of mechanism that you may be able to clean and re-grease. If you don't have the clutch cam pivot like my bike does here, yours clutch cable goes like to the clutch side, then there's nothing else to check on that one, and you get to skip step number 3. Clutch cable done. Now it's on to tip number 4, your drive chain. If you don't have a drive chain, you don't get a step number 4. So, but step number 4, you're I've lubed and adjusted a chain before, whatever. No. I'll show you the good way I've learned over many years of being a mechanic, and all the tips on how to get it just right. Get your axle loosened up here, and then get from your service manual or the sticker that used to be here, never mind. You want to find the slack adjustment number that you need right there. It's usually like 3/4 of an inch or an inch, somewhere around in there. If you don't have the manual, start with about an inch. You should be okay. Anyways, then you need this tool right here. Now, I've done the research. There's the Motion Pro one you can spend more money on. Just because you want to spend more money, you don't need to. You can just get this one. I've got the link in the description below. not all of these Chinese ones are the same. You need to get this one. I've done some research. There's some garbage ones out there. This one's cheap. It's like less than 10 bucks. What this does is this makes sure you are now perfectly in line. Now, what you can't see is that this one is not perfectly in line. The camera's not going to pick up that angle. You want to be able to look down this and get that thing nice and perfect, because these marks right here and that little mark right there, those lie. They lie like a dirty dog in the sun. Do not use them. If you don't got one of these tools, sure, use those. Buy the tool. It's just cheap. Be there in a couple days. Free shipping, no problem. So, adjust this up. Looking down this, get it nice and straight. All right, pro tip for adjusting your chain. Now, what you may not believe is your chain does not wear evenly. So, you spin it around, and you check it at one spot, spin a little bit more, check it at one spot, just by hitting the slack in the chain, and you find the tight spot. You want to adjust to the right measurement at the tightest spot. That's where you want to set it. Especially as the chain wears, you'll chain even more and more unevenly. If it's kind of new, then it won't be too bad. How do you know that your chain and sprocket are worn out? Well, there's another video coming, so subscribe for that one. It's coming. All right, now that we got the chain adjusted, you're on for tip number 5, lube the chain. Now you might be thinking, Sparky, yeah, lube the chain, whatever. No. I will show you everything I've learned over so many years of lubing and adjusting so many chains. My last bike, 70,000 miles, lots of chain, lots of lube. You need this lube. Bel-Ray, super clean. And you might be thinking, there's a bunch of different lubes out there, they're all the same. No. I've done the research. I bought in so many kinds of chain lube when I was working at a dealership. Tried them all. This is the one you need. You want to see what happened with the last owner of this SV650? A mess? That's what happened. Messy chain. And I'm still cleaning that stuff off. It's horrible. I don't know what chain lube he was using, just camel snot or something. This is the stuff you need. Anyways, link in the description below. Yeah, it costs a couple bucks more. It's worth it. Won't make a mess. Get that stuff. Now I'm going to show you how to properly lube the chain. You might be thinking, no, I can lube a chain. Let me show you the dangerous way, because the dangerous way is the best way. And you might lose a finger. You were warned. All right, we should probably do a chain cleaning video. Yeah, subscribe. I promise I'll do one. This chain is horrible. You need a bike on a stand or a center stand. This one doesn't have a center stand, so we use this stand of some sort, or something just to get it up, because we're going to run the bike and lube the chain. Yes, you heard me. We're going to run the bike and lube the chain. Now, do not put your fingers right there. You will lose a finger. Trust me, I have had a finger go through the chain of sprockets. You see those fingers? Those fingers are held at the same height. See how they're not the same length? That went through a chain and sprocket. Not kidding, not at all. Back 2001, right through a chain and sprocket. Holy wow, that was bad. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold a piece of cardboard up in here like that, so it does not get on your wheel when you're spraying it. Okay? It's nice and clean. Now, here's the thing. That's going to be running by. My hand is way down here, not even close to the chain. Again, no fingers in the sprockets. Next, you're going to be squirting directly on the ring right there, and then you're going to be directly on the ring right there as it's running past. So you'll get the whole thing right on the O-ring right there. Or if you got a non-O-ring, that's still the spot. You got to lube it. Now this chain is like super worn out. It's flopping all over the place. If you have a nice clean and smooth chain, then it won't be so bad. But now when you pull this out, nice and clean rim. All right, it's now time for tip number 6. Now there's a bonus tip after this, so check that one out in just a second. But I'm about to start a war in the comments because I'm going to recommend oil. And before you start flaming all over the place, let me show you what I got. Now, I used to work at the motorcycle dealership, and my last bike I put on over 70-something thousand miles, I want to say. I tried all different sorts of oils because the reps would come in and say, "Ah, yeah, I got this oil, I got that." And I'd be like, "Show me an oil that makes your bike shift as smooth as Motul 7100." Now, this is 5100. I was putting in one of the quads, but I've got these 7100 is the full synthetic. I promise you, if you haven't used this oil before, your bike shifts smoother. There's just no two ways about it. Put in the bike, shift smoother. Easy peasy. Just done like that. Now, there's other good oils. Yes, sure. You argue with me on that. Go search around the internet and find all sorts of misinformation of oils. Anyways, nobody's refuting that the Motul 7100 is a bad oil. Do you need the 300V? No, you don't need the 300V for the street. If you're racing, maybe so. You don't need the 300V. Yes, it's expensive, but it goes longer intervals. You don't have to change it as often. Now, it's going to start all sorts of other rumors and wars in the comments as well. But yes, full synthetic Motul 7100. Link in the description below for the 1040. Most bikes use. If you've got KTMs, probably can use a different weight. They also got 2050. Anyways, check it out. That's the stuff to use. If it doesn't work for you, I want to hear about it in the comments, because I think it shifts the smoothest. I put so many miles and so many different oils on my bikes. It's the one. It's the one to use. All right, let's run it down. So you have lubed and adjusted the cable. You have lubed and checked the clutch lever pivot, and that is nice and smooth. And you have lubed and adjusted the clutch cam mechanism. Then you have adjusted the chain and lubed it well. The last thing is you have changed the motor oil. Your bike will now be shifting super smooth. Now, bonus tip, if your bike is older or has a decent amount of miles on it, this shift mechanism right here can get a little gummed up in here. So take that apart, clean it up, use the grease like I said, link in the description below. That grease will make this thing shift up and down super smooth. All right, that is a 6-7 tips actually to make your clutch and transmission shift nice and smooth. If it doesn't work for you, you did all those and you're like, it's the same, and you're in town and you say, I'll buy you a beer, I'll buy you a soda. I promise you, you do those, nice and smooth. All right, we'll be doing another video about how to shift super fast now that you have your clutch and transmission all lubed up and just working great. So subscribe below, and we'll see you next time on Sparky Moto TV.